Well, here we are, heading off to a big adventure in California, Silicon Valley, the Amiga 40th birthday at the Computer History Museum. Currently in London, that's the Elizabeth line. I'm heading out to Heathrow Airport and hopefully make my plane.
Among the field's giants, the emphasis is on surefire sellers. Atari displays home versions of its arcade game hits like Centipede and introduces its new line of home computers.
Are you ready to paint me?
Yeah.
Welcome to the Computer Chronicles.
A computer that can talk thanks to a built-in speech chip.
Here's the motherboard from inside, and here are some custom chips, specially designed chips.
Working with a video camera, a digitizer, and a software package called DigiView, Larry can create new images.
The Amiga has always belonged to the dreamers. It was invented by an eclectic band of individuals led by Jay Miner.
I'll now start to record. The drum machine, which has been synchronized to the computer, will automatically start.
Because guess what? My Commodore Amiga is so excellent.
All those visual effects were produced on
the Amiga
with the help of a toaster. Nah.
What's it called?
Commodore Amiga. Brilliant stuff from under $1,000.
Excellent.
He's working. The last guy in the building to be working. Anybody here have anything to say to Mehdi Ali?
$1 billion to minus 500 million in 2 years.
This is KTVU Mornings on 2.
A showcase of historical computers from the 1960s all the way through the 1990s is on display in Silicon Valley. The Vintage Computer Festival kicked off this morning in Mountain View at the Computer History Museum, and that is where we...
Here I am, I made it. Computer History Museum for the Vintage Computer Festival West and the Amiga 40 birthday.
Ever since reading about the Amiga 30th celebrations, I've dreamed of making it to the 40th, and here I am, Friday, 1st of August 2025 in Silicon Valley, finally living that dream. Quick backstory, in 1987, I was a 12-year-old kid growing up in Brisbane, Australia, when my parents brought home our first family computer, an Amiga 1000. I was instantly hooked. Sure, there were years my Amiga gathered dust, but over the last decade, I've fully rekindled that obsession. Now, here I am, ticking off so many firsts. My first time in North America, first Vintage Computer Festival, seeing the Computer History Museum, and best of all, celebrating the Amiga 40th with original devs, engineers, and my fellow die-hard Amigans. My kind of nerds, keeping this beautiful machine alive.
Here we are at the Amiga stand. In 1984, we've got into a time machine and we're at the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas, and I'm standing here with Colin. Colin was co-MD with David Pleasant's Commodore UK, the most successful Commodore division, and with their famous Batman packs amongst other things. But Colin, just on the outside of this display, what are the highlights? What can we see behind us?
So this is a reproduction of the booth where Amiga was known for their Atari accessories. So the front of the show was demonstrating the Joy board.
Let's take a look down there.
Think of it as a Wii 20 years before the time, which could allow you to hands-free control and play the games. And then by special invitation, you could go behind the curtain and see the breadboard of the original Amiga 1000. And in this booth today, we have the actual breadboards which were on display in 1994.
Amazing. So am I invited to come behind the curtain, Colin?
Let me check the list. Yeah, we can fit you in.
Oh, very good. Let's do it. So very exciting. Here we go. So it was only potential buyers that were invited behind the curtain.
Correct. Just like it was in 1984.
And there's the man, Dale. I'm not going to disturb Dale Luck. He's about to get on stage. And similar to 1984, I guess, hurriedly trying to make things work. That looks extremely precarious down there, whatever's going on there. But yes, up here we have the demo. So is that the same demo?
Yeah, which for 1984 is phenomenal.
You could build the breadboard much quicker than you can get a chip back.
Yeah.
And you can also adjust it. When you get a chip back, it's 2-3 months before you get the final thing back, and if you make a mistake, you're kind of hosed.
Yeah.
But if you can build one of these with the similar logic, then you can adjust it more easily.
Yeah.
This one's Paula, or is it Porsche?
So I think it was
no, this is Porsche. This is the first version. Yeah, we made some improvements later in it to give better sound and better disc control. That was probably the first CS. I don't really remember. This is probably Agnes, I would guess.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
It's been a while.
What does it say?
It's been 40 years.
Yeah, it has. What does it say? Oh, no, this is Daphne.
And Daphne became Denise.
Right, exactly. So, and then that's Agnes.
And Agnes, excellent.
Yeah, then this is a motherboard. And
that's what brought it all together. And where's your disc controller? You did
it's in here somewhere.
This is your work here.
Yeah, this is mine.
Excellent.
And then you would plug the things. Oh, that must have been some adjustment. So you would plug them in here.
Yeah.
Right. You see. So this is the key. You know, the chip came in a package like this, and this board was pin compatible.
Okay.
With the chip.
And then you plug that
into the motherboard. And then when the chip came, you just plug the chip into the same motherboard.
And in theory, it would work.
Yeah. And in fact, it did.
40 years later, you've got this guy here from Australia that grew up with this machine, lives in the UK now, has come all the way across to America just to pay homage to this machine that means so much to me.
How do I feel?
Yeah.
I'm gobsmacked.
Yeah, it's incredible, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm amazed.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, and there's me and thousands of others around the world. You know, we appreciate all that effort you put in, and it launched so many careers in so many different ways. So, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I'm hanging out with Eric. And Eric, this is your Amiga 1000?
That's right, yeah. This is the replica of the original setup I had back in 1986. So
excellent.
It's got the same peripherals and all the same software and even the printer.
Yeah,
and
nice.
So I have it set up so kids or anybody can come by and kind of try out computing as it was when I was a kid.
Excellent. And do you recall, Eric, what your first game or thing that you obsessed over on that machine back in 1986?
Yeah. Probably the number one game would be the Adventure Construction set. That's been a big influence. It was one of the sort of earliest games where you kind of build your own RPG.
Yeah.
And it was very influential, as it turns out, on other people as well. The creators of the Elder Scrolls series were influenced by that game, reportedly.
Yeah. Oh wow. And have you got that here today?
I do. Yeah, I have that here.
Nice.
So we're going to go ahead and hit space to get to the menu. Okay. Now we'll do F6. Select OneDrive. And now we got a floppy swap, because with OneDrive there's always a lot of floppy swapping. So we'll hit F4.
So no external drive set up today?
No external drive, because originally I did not have an external drive. That's something I picked up much later.
Bit of a luxury.
It's kind of your average turn-based role-playing game, but these are all graphics that you can edit. Even the game mechanics you have some control over. They have some primitive programming that you can do. It's not really text-based, but you can wire objects together, and there's a limited amount of control that you have over that.
This is definitely bringing back memories. It was a hidden memory buried deep in the recesses, but I do recall playing this. And when I get back to London, I'm going to have to fire this up and give it a go. Well, Eric, thank you very much for your time, and hope you have a good BCF. And Yeah. Are you going to the party afterwards?
Of course.
Oh, nice. So,
I'll see you at the party then.
Absolutely. Thank you, Eric.
All right, thanks
Cheers.
for coming by.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Okay, so this just happened. I've been presented with a gold pass for the Amiga party tonight. How about that? Woohoo! There we go.
What device is that?
That's a GoPro.
Oh, that's the new GoPros.
Yeah.
Okay, I haven't
and
seen
that's
those.
a little
Okay.
microphone.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
A little microphone. Okay.
Tell us, Ron, what was your involvement in the Amiga project?
In the Amiga project. Oh, okay. I just designed and architected the original chipset along with Jay Miner and Joe DeCure. That's all we did.
No.
You know, minor tasks. A cast of other brilliant engineers actually had to make it work, which is one of the things we're here celebrating today.
How I got involved in this project at all. Actually, it was Steve Jobs who introduced me to Jay Miner so we could do a chip for the Macintosh. Jay Miner then introduced me to Dave Morse, who talked me, I'll talk a little bit more about later, into coming to Amiga. So without Dave Morse and Jay Miner, this project wouldn't have existed. They are no longer with us, but they were the key people. Something just occurred a few months ago, a sad passing. Dale mentioned, and he wrote an emulator for the Blitter, but how the Blitter came about is actually another famous person who recently passed away, and that's Bill Atkinson, who did the graphics for the Lisa and the Mac. And actually, how did brilliant engineer, what's the connection? Well, in hallway talk at Apple, Bill Atkinson and Bill Budge would actually talk about how to implement a Blitter in software, and they were doing it in the hallway right outside my office. So I said, oh, that's interesting. Maybe I should learn how to write a Blitter in software in 4th and 6502 assembly code, which is a little silly. And that actually became the prototype for the hardware Blitter when I got talked into going to Amiga. How did I get talked into going to Amiga? Oh, very simple. I was working on the Macintosh, which was a very exciting project, but Dave Morse came up and said, you can work on Macintosh where you're doing a disk controller chip, or you can come work with me and do a color video game machine. What do you think I did? So that's how I ended up on the project.
You know, when Ron talks about we were almost out of money, not before CBS, but we were almost out of money, but it's like one of those little told stories of that Jay Miner, who was like a great hero to all of us. He went out and took out a second mortgage on his home so that Amiga could make payroll for the employees, so the employees didn't get scared and start looking for other jobs. Like, the guy went out and took a second mortgage on his own home. He believed in the effort that much.
That was a couple of short clips from the development of Amiga panel hosted by Dale Luck. The full recording is now online, link below. It's a great panel, so be sure to check it out.
I'm here with Mike.
How's it going?
Mike has built something rather quite incredible. Let's have a quick look.
Sure.
Wow.
So this is it's a live video demo on the Commodore PET. And essentially the way it works is I have a mobile phone capturing frames of video. And this is happening in a browser in JavaScript. So you capture a frame of video, it chops it up into little 8 pixel by 8 pixel blocks, and it tries to figure out what characters to display that the PET is capable of displaying. Because the PET doesn't have a real bitmap graphics mode. You can't really toggle one pixel on or off. But you can draw it has a certain set of characters that it can display, and that includes some drawing characters like little shapes and squares and triangles and things like that. And so what happens is it captures a frame here on the phone, it sends that block of characters over Wi-Fi to a Raspberry Pi that's connected in the back to an 8-bit parallel port called the user port.
I'm here with the one and only RJ.
Hello.
And Amiga 40. Happy birthday. How are you finding today?
It's just amazing for me to be walking around and experiencing all of this excitement again. to see a lot of the old stuff again is just so thrilling for me. But to see so much new energy being poured into it all the time, all these new inventions, people still believing, still trusting, working on this thing that we invented 40 years ago.
That's right.
They're still loving it. It's just amazing.
I thought Trevor spoke very well just before his presentation and asking what the Amiga was today. And with the hardware and all these things, it's great, but it's the people. And today's testament to that. And for me, I was in a little place in Australia when the Amiga came out, and my parents bought one home, and it changed my life. And to come here today, it's a pilgrimage, and
oh my God,
and a full circle moment. And I just wanted to say thank you so much.
It's so amazing. I mean, we made the Amiga for you, for someone like you,
for me,
to pick it up and make something out of your life with it, to make yourself a better version of yourself. And,
absolutely.
And we succeeded with you. Yay!
Thank you
I love
so much,
shirt,
RJ.
by the way.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. You're so welcome.
And I've been at the 7-Eleven across the road having some lunch, and I've bumped into Talin here from Micro Illusions. And tell us, Talin, what was the game you were just telling me about?
The Fairy Tale Adventure.
The Fairy Tale Adventure. This is one of my favourites. It was incredible. The graphics, the sound, and how many people were involved in the build of that?
Just me.
Just you. Absolutely incredible. And Talin, your career didn't just start and stop with Fairy Tale Adventure. You mentioned Music X.
Yep, I did Music X, Discovery, and eventually I went to work at Electronic Arts. So worked on SimCity 4, The Sims 2, and a few other things. Did a lot of failed startups as well.
Yeah.
Eventually I kind of got out of the games industry for a while, worked at Google, worked at Amazon, and now I'm retired.
Yeah.
And I spend all my time these days doing games in Rust.
Yeah, oh nice. Excellent. And being the 40th birthday of the Amiga, do you have any recollections of your first contact with the Amiga and your first impressions?
I will tell you. So I was interviewing for a job at Datasoft. I had done a couple of games on the Radio Shack Color computer, and I was sitting in the lobby of the Datasoft. This is in Northridge, down in LA. So there was another guy who was also waiting to be interviewed for a job, and we started talking, and I said, hey, there's this really new computer coming out called the Jackintosh, right?
Jackintosh?
Yeah, the Atari ST, right? And he said, oh no, but there's an even better computer coming out called the Amiga, right? And we started talking, and it sounded really great. And so that's the first time I heard of the Amiga was basically sitting and waiting for it to be interviewed.
Yeah, wow.
Now, it's interesting, since you brought up Music X, I always had a little trouble. I wrote Music X on the Amiga, and there was a bug. There was a bug that lasted for years. It was occasionally that when recording from the keyboard, occasionally it would drop a note. And it turns out that, I complained to the Amiga folks about this. The folks.
We might have to keep moving. We got some Google bicycles.
The Amiga folks, they couldn't find the bug, right? It was a bug where the serial port would sometimes miss a byte.
Yes.
Okay. And eventually, I think it was 1994, which was really late. Right? Bryce Nesbitt, who was working at Commodore at the time, figured out that it was a problem in the Amiga hardware.
Really?
It was actually a hardware bug.
Yeah.
Joining us in the studio now is David Joyner. David's a programmer with Micro Illusions and the developer of Music X.
The Amiga is a very creative machine. I think it has a very creative spirit to it. And I think that many musicians are attracted to that, and they're dying for an excuse to buy one.
Oh, brilliant. Excellent. Well, I won't take more of your time, but thank you so much, and absolute honor and privilege to have bumped into you. Thank you.
Nice meeting you. Thank you.
By happy coincidence, it wasn't just the Amiga 40th birthday being celebrated at the Computer History Museum, it was also the 50th anniversary of the Homebrew Computer Club. Back in 1975, just 10 years before the Amiga launch, the personal computer era was effectively born. In a garage in Milano Park, the first Homebrew Computer Club met to examine the brand new Altair 8080. Famously, the club counted Jobs, Wozniak, Gates and many other future tech giants among its early attendees. While they weren't on this panel, it still featured some legendary figures from the early days. So for me, To sit in and hear their stories firsthand was a real honour. Lee Felsenstein is a tremendously impressive person. Not only did he moderate the club's meetings 50 years ago, he also moderated the panel at this event. Among the panelists was David Kottke, who famously dropped acid with Jobs and joined him on a spiritual pilgrimage to India in the 70s.
Anyway, back to the Apple I. Well, what I say to a lot of people is, it was the Homebrew Computer Club that motivated Woz to make that kit.
Just 10 years after the Homebrew Computer Club, the Amiga was launched, and I guess were you aware of it, or did you have any knowledge of what was going on with the Amiga?
I had heard of it.
Yeah.
Dale Luck is the guy who was building the prototypes.
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
And so he was my counterpart, because I was the guy building prototypes at Apple.
Yes.
So, and I think Dale's getting to talk tomorrow.
That's right. Yeah.
I thought the Amiga was super cool.
Yeah.
Someone gave me one.
Okay.
And I gave it to a filmmaker.
Okay.
Because it was the only cheap way to add titles to video.
That's right. The video
by syncing the computer to the video.
Yeah. Very cool stuff.
In addition to a packed agenda of talks and panels, the event featured a huge range of exhibitors showing off vintage computers and related projects. I'll cover some of these in my next video, which will focus on day 2 of the event, along with more interviews. For now, I want to highlight a few Amiga exhibits. This display here featured some very sleek Amiga mock-ups that I believe were produced in 1986. Makes the imagination run wild with what might have been. There were modern Amiga projects as well, including an impressive Amiga Future Wall. I'm mostly a classic Amiga guy, but I still appreciate the passion the community has for creating new hardware and ideas. Dale Luck had on display a selection from his enormous collection of vintage Amiga-related hardware. I was blown away by these arcade machines running on modified Amigas. I'd heard of the Arcadia Super Select system, but this was my first time seeing one in person.
What was the first time you met Amiga, and what blew you away?
So, I love this question. I don't think I've ever told anybody this, at least on video. But in the 80s, I was growing up with my brother with a single mom, and we didn't have a ton of money, but we did have one computer. It was actually a Commodore 64.
Nice.
That's actually where I got started in computing, and I didn't have a magazine subscription. This sounds like a joke, but I had to ride my bike miles to a mall to go check out the software store to see what the new games were. And this one day I was riding my bike, I think it was in 1986 or 87, it was somewhere in that time frame. I was riding my bike towards the mall, and I was going through an office park, and I saw some logos on the glass, and one of them was the Commodore logo. I was like, oh, wait a minute, if this is going to save me a mile, I'm coming in here. I don't know what this is, but it was completely strange. It didn't look like a normal store, but it was open. And so I went inside, and there were two gentlemen that worked there, and they wore suits, right? Like you're at a car dealership or something from the 80s or 90s. It was really strange. And in the center of the room were 3 pedestals. And each one had a monitor on facing out. So from above, it looked almost like a flower pattern. Okay? And on the first one, so right when I walk in the door, I see that first pedestal, and there's the monitor facing me, and it's this beautiful red sports car that looked like it should be an arcade game. And I'm just like, what is this? And I walked up to it, and I looked down, and there was a little plexiglass, clear plexiglass that held a business card in it, and it said Commodore Amiga.
Nice.
And then it had the price. And I was like, oh my gosh, it was really expensive. But I hadn't touched anything, and I walked around to the second screen, and there was the juggler.
Nice.
And I'd never seen anything like this in my life. I was like, I thought I had transported into the future. I couldn't believe it. But that's when one of the gentlemen came up to me and said, is there anything, and he said it in kind of like a, I know I'm wasting my breath voice, right? Like, is there anything I can do for you? Do you have any questions? I'm like, I just wanted to look, if that's okay. I won't touch anything. They're like, it's fine. And then they walk back and talk to his friend. And then I saw the third screen, but I realized at that point I was way out of my league. And
it became an obsession, though.
Oh my gosh, it was a moment I never forgot.
How did you end up owning one?
Well, honestly, it took a long time. It was a lot of time passed. I actually went back into the C64 scene pretty hardcore. And I only started the Amiga thing about 15 years ago, realistically.
Okay.
So I
so
came
it
to
never left you, and it was an itch you had to scratch.
Oh my gosh. And then once I got in there, it took me back to that moment that I just described. And the earliest days. And I embedded myself in the history of it. Who the big names were, and of course it continued to go on. In Europe, it did a whole different thing, right?
That's right.
It was comparable to, I mean, realistically, it was comparable to like a Super Nintendo or a Sega Genesis or whatever. Right. It was huge from a gaming perspective. It was very different over here. It was more a matter of professional software, deluxe paint, people creating the games using the tools on the Amiga. And I went through that whole history of the game developers here in the United States that were massive, and they had devoted so much attention and resources to it, and I just became completely in love. And and that, I guess a way to tidy up the bow there is at the time I noticed there was a little bit of, not toxicity, but there were definitely personalities in some of the forums that I was trying to get answers to. I was just trying to learn some basic, simple things. How do I do this? How do I do that? And these peacocks would come out of nowhere and kind of squawk at you, and you had to try and piece things together. And I was like, there's got to be a way for us to talk together and learn from one another, from people that grew up with it.
That's where Amiga Love came from?
That's where the name came from, was that I wanted us to have a place where we, just from the brand alone, it changed the tone.
Definitely.
You're not going to go to Amiga Love and be a jerk. We're all here to have fun. We're all here to talk to each other and talk about your personal history as well. So,
and hence, and this event today, there's so many people here giving Amiga love. So,
I mean, you're literally wearing it.
There we go. So, thank you very much for your time, Eric.
It's my pleasure.
And keep up the good work. So,
same. Cheers.
I really enjoyed hanging out with Eric and bonding over our shared love of the Amiga 1000. He is a super nice guy. In fact, the whole day went beyond anything I ever expected. I met so many interesting people, and here I was, in Silicon Valley, hanging out with them all. Unbelievable. But this was just the end of day one, and the best was still ahead. We still had the evening extravaganza to look forward to. But first, it was time to head back to the hotel, freshen up, and get ready for the evening. A black tie celebration of the 40th anniversary of the Amiga's introduction to the world.
We've got Andy Warhol up on stage, about to demonstrate deluxe paint with Deborah Harry. But it isn't 40 years ago. It's 2025 at the Computer History Museum in California.
I have to admit, by this point the jet lag had really kicked in. My body clock was convinced it was 5 in the morning. Even so, here I was at this once-in-a-lifetime recreation of the Amiga launch event that took place at the Lincoln Center in New York on 23 July 1985. The evening began with Jeff Burett sharing his fascinating story about being asked to teach Andy Warhol how to use ProPaint on an Amiga 1000. Which then led to a remarkable chain of events and an autographed Amiga disc that he now has up for sale for $26 million. We then had a brilliant recreation of Andy Warhol painting Deborah Harry, with Tim Jennison, the inventor of the video toaster, playing the part of Warhol, and Kiki Stockhammer, the original e-girl, playing Harry. The accuracy and attention to detail were extraordinary, right down to a guru meditation error during setup. The second half of the evening was the Amiga Awards, presented by Amiga Bill and Bill Basari. The amount of planning and preparation that went into this was incredible. It was a polished production that reflected countless hours of work from so many volunteers. I want to single out Bill Basari in particular. Thank you for leading the effort. I truly appreciate you creating this once-in-a-lifetime moment. That's it for now. It's only taken me 3 months to get round to sharing this. But now I'm onto it, I hope to share day 2 of the event in the next few weeks. And then there's my trip to Amiga 40th in Germany last month. Hopefully by Christmas.